Okay folks, this will be a challenging one. Let's see if we can make this one turn up a treat. It's going to be a little bit tricky with the enlargement to see how big we're going to make it. See how we go. Gonna look at that when we get the original. Oh fuck that, I keep bumping that, it's so annoying. Gonna make it a negative positive. Okay, let's see how this one turns out. It is another Chemist warehouse paper, but this one looks more pamphlet-like. And we're interested in this Mayhem banner. Mayhem mega sale. Silly, this advertising that go on with this shit. But we're going to make it into something interesting. Hopefully I can get it in the right place. Tricky on this one, folks. Mayhem. Typical advertising drama. Hang on, this is not how we're going to enlarge it. It was the wrong way round. We're going this way. We're meant to put this in the corner. So we just have to estimate. So it's probably not going to be as hard as what it would be if I had to do it the other way. So I'm just going to slide it down a bit. Mayhem. Sort of, yeah, typical advertising speak, I must say. Trying to make it sound really dramatic and really like something major. Mayhem, it's like total mayhem. I guess some sales are mayhem sales, like the Christmas ones where the crowds are allowed to accumulate and people end up stampeding into the shop to get the best deal that they can. That looks really quite interesting. We need to enlarge it more on the horizontal and maybe push it down a bit. It's a bit too far up, I think. I think that's right. Mayhem, indeed. But you get these sales that happen early in, I don't know what they call those sales, where people are made to line up and they end up stampeding, trying to race to the bargains. And it's really chaotic and can be quite dangerous even. People could bump into each other too much and trip over and shit. But basically, it's a real crazy sort of shopping sort of sale. I don't know what they call those sales. Late night or early morning. I don't know what the fuck they call them. Folks, you probably know what I'm talking about. And that's come up looking quite nice. I think we're going to move it just a little bit less enlargement to make it in there nicely, and that the up and down, the vertical looks pretty much spot on. We're going to do something interesting with it once we've finished with the enlargement and the whatever. So we're going to make this maybe 165. I do think, can we make it darker? Mayhem. Yeah, still looks too wishy-washy a bit, but that looks better now. We've got that showing nicely. I still think we may need to make it less enlarged. I do think it's no difference colour-wise, despite changing the original type. It looks a bit more wishy-washy, strangely enough, but that looks nice, the turquoise. That looks both ways, it looks quite nice. It's hard to say which one's the nicer version. So we're going to make it 160, I do think. We're going to run with the dot matrix original, since that intensifies the colour. Let's see how we go with that. Yeah, it looks dirty actually. The colours have become really dirty, as well as the background. It's improved the signage there a little bit, but it looks shithouse. And we've got that unwanted bit, so we're going to go back to 165, back where we were. So we're just going to stick it back on 100. I think that's as good as it gets. And we're going to just remove this. It's dirty. It looks dirty. We're just going to stick it there and print it off. Yeah, that looks better. Looks a bit backgroundy, but yeah, you can't really, yeah, it's a negative image off a paper. So we're going to use this as our master copy, and we're going to turn this signage into mayhem, you could say, if I want to use their terminology. So we're just going to switch it back to 100. We're going to switch it to, we're going to keep it, the image, going to take off the negative. We're just going to set things up differently. Okay, let's just get rid of this paper. I don't read this shit. It's old anyway. I've had it for months. So we're just going to take this and we're going to make it into a movement piece. Mayhem Mega Sale. Yeah, that's come up looking quite interesting. Not quite what I'm after. Maybe it looks a bit dark, a bit backgroundy. I don't like that background much. I actually think we're going to do something a little bit different with this. We're going to reduce it, make it into something more interesting than this. Maybe lighten it further. Going to leave it on that. Mayhem Mega Sale. So we're going to just start it there and I'm going to move it across. Yeah, that looks really quite interesting. I think we could work with that as a mirrored image to make a nice piece to create. So we're just going to utilise this. So that's our original, and this is it. Oops, I just bumped it. I was just scratching my face. I think we're going to leave it like that. Okay, we'll slide that up, and now we're just going to print it off. Going to maybe darken it a bit. We don't want it to be wishy-washy, even though the background is going to look shit. Yeah, looks really, really pink, really magenta, but that looks really quite interesting. I do think maybe we'll just keep the magenta, or maybe we'll take some out. We're going to see if we could take some of it out and see if that improves the overall, what's known as the colour balance. So we normally ramp up all the colours, but the magenta tends to reproduce really dominantly. So we're just going to reduce the amount of magenta to make it less pink looking. I think I should have done that when I made the master copy to make it better, and that's come up looking still a little bit too much magenta. You can see a little bit of difference. So that's the first version, and that's the second version. But we don't want to lose too much magenta because it might spoil the areas that have magenta. So I'm just going to put that aside. But it's really difficult it's always a trade-off with these, often with these adjustments. But we're going to run with it, as they say. Just going to line these up. They're a little bit curly. Unfortunately, that one's curling a little bit, but not too much. But I'm really missing a partner, folks. My soulmate called Luigi. Unfortunately, I don't remember his surname, but I know he hasn't forgotten about me, and I haven't forgotten about him. And I really miss him, and I'm trying to get myself and my photocopier work on the 6 o'clock news to get in touch where my partner is, the primetime news where most people sit and watch the television, glued to the sets, so to speak. I think the Americans call it prime time. I've called it prime time, and I just mean the 6 o'clock news, basically. The 6 o'clock news is where I believe it's at, and that's how I'm going to get the coverage that I need to find this person and to get my art recognised, to get my creativity into a lucrative business, not just a hobby that costs heaps and heaps and heaps of money and keeps sending me broke. So, it's not easy dealing with being an artist who's not earning anything or exhibiting even. Anyway, that's come up looking quite nice. I think we can now call this mayhem finished.